business of hair. And it's been an exciting 4 weeks. It definitely has. So we started off via platforms to market. And then last week, Terry and I took you on the journey about reopening and what sanitation looked like. And which I am going to check in on Friday with my girl Robertina on my Instagram to see what that looks like, what someone who's reopened and what they're facing. But today I want to take a really serious look, and I want to talk about something very important to all of us, the financial aspects of our business. Now, there are a ton of us that are fantastic at hair. Raise your hand, give me a thumbs up if you're fantastic at hair. There's a ton of you. A lot of you are waving, just joining anyway, but I'll take it as you're putting your thumbs up because we're fantastic at hair. And not all of us are fantastic at managing this. And unfortunately, in our industry, we have, yes, Carissa, yes, we have so many of us that start off these adventures in hair, and 80% of those businesses fail in the first 18 months. And that's crazy. So right now, what does that mean? Why am I talking about this? I feel it. The industry is worried. How are we going to make money? How are we going to put money in our pockets when we are straddled with the idea of having to purchase PPE, change how we do our scheduling, no more double booking, triple booking, and book out time for sanitation? How are we going to do it? How are we going to make a profit after we're already strapped with already on top of having all this new way of doing business? And that's what we're going to work on today. We're going to work on our strategy to make sure that at the end of this, we come out profitable and making money. Because it's great to do great hair and it's great to feel wonderful what we do for our clients. But it's also good to go to work and pay our bills, and not just pay our bills, but be able to live a lifestyle. So that's the journey that we're going to go on today. So let's talk about this. We just said that 80% of salon adventures crash and burn within the first 18 months. So 80% crash and burn in 18 months. My goodness, I can't say that. That's hard. And why? Why does that happen? Well, we have to know how to take care of the dollar. So I want to talk about the dollar here. So my dollar's a little fractured right here. So we get the money, right? The money comes into the salon, but it doesn't just go directly into our pocket as much as so many people think. And unfortunately, a lot of people think like that. Right off the bat, we have something called supply cost. And what's supply cost? Well, the average salon spends 12% or 12 cents of every dollar on their supplies. And that goes on. Usually about 5% goes to rent. 3 or 4% goes to bank fees and credit card fees. Taxes, 2%. Is everyone okay? Is everyone breathing right now? I just want to make sure that everyone's breathing on this adventure with me. And then we have cable and phone and internet or your cell phone. Some of us have electric to pay. That's another 2 cents of the dollar. Whoa, insurance, fees, dues, licensing, that's another 2%. Software for programming, 1%. Wow, my dollar is not looking really good right now. And if you're at a commission-based salon and you're that salon owner, an average payroll is 65%. So what am I left with to take home? I'm left with 5% as long as I manage these numbers properly. Wow, take a deep breath. That's a lot to digest. We have to manage the business part properly. So why did I just take you through that journey? We're going to have to now do our business differently. A lot of us are going to have reduction in how much our capacity can be or how many people we can service in one day. So how are we going to be able to fulfill all of these costs? And I want you to really think for a few minutes about what your costs are. And this is definitely a program that I can sit and work with all of you about. If you send me questions to Jessica, the Beauty Series, I will walk you through and help you with it. And we're talking about at Aloxxi being able to do this in a Zoom format. This is a seminar that I brought out into the field, and a lot of salon owners and a lot of suite and booth renters had a very eye-opening experience when they began to look at their numbers in that way. So why? Why are we not looking at it that way? In beauty school, have any of you gone through a comprehensive business program that went through all of these different segments? Or did you do the old standard where you drew a picture of your salon, of what your dream salon would look like and how many chairs? Yeah, that was the business training back in beauty school. And so no one trained us how we could do this as a business. All these businesses are around us. They're not failing at that rate. Why? Because they're treating it like a business. They're not treating it like the salon. So what made me passionate about going out and sharing this information with anyone? About 12 years ago, my salon was 2 years old at that time. I noticed that my staff was ordering sushi for lunch, and they asked me, hey, do you want sushi? And I was like, no, because I knew that I didn't have the money to pay $15 for the sushi lunch order that was going to come in. I had a bag of ramen noodles in the back, and I could heat that up. Because at that point in my business, I didn't understand all of these aspects. All I knew is that, sure, I was doing a great clientele. I was running a good business, but my tips were coming out of my pocket and going back into the register just to keep the business alive. I didn't even realize what I was making or what I was doing. I didn't know how the business was happening. Why? I don't know. I was, pretty intelligent girl. I knew how to run a salon. I'd been in the industry for quite a while at that point, but I didn't understand that it's a business just like any other business, and I needed to run it that way. So those of you joining in, we're talking about the difference between running a salon and understanding that it's also a business. And what does that mean? And just to reiterate, so we go through all the costs that are in a salon. 1% is going to your software on average. Insurance and fees, 2%. Electric, 2%. Cable, phone, internet, 2%. Taxes, 2%. 3% for a credit card, 5% for rent, 12% for supply costs. And then if you're running a commission-based salon, payroll is 65% on average. So we really need to identify what it is that our salon is spending. What are our finances? And I think to back it up a second, let's understand what our dreams are. We talked a little bit about we don't want to just go to work and pay the bills. Yeah, I feel great. When I knock a color correction out of the park, I feel so rewarded as a creative professional. I feel even more rewarded when I'm able to pay myself and be able to do all the things that I want. And when I tell you the story of the sushi, I realized I needed to make a change. Why was I, the salon owner, why was I not able to order the sushi? Why did I have to have the ramen noodles? One, because I wasn't figuring out what my salon income needed to be. And two, I had no idea what I was making, but I knew that I needed to make a change quickly. Born is the SIN, the S-I-N, the salon income needed. And if you want to take out a pen and paper so we can talk about this, by all means, we can go over this one-on-one in a Zoom class as well, or you can send me your questions as well. So if you've got a piece of paper out, get ready to write. SIN, salon income needed. This is a listing of what your bills are and what you need to pay every single month. And if you're confused how to figure that out, pull 2 months of bank statements and you'll easily be able to see where your money is going. And this ties back to what is so critical right now, because we need to figure out where that money is going to come from to pay for the PPE on one side, increasing our supply cost. And on the other side, we're reducing the amount of volume that we're going to have because we're going to have to book accordingly. So it is important. If you've never been someone who's looked at your numbers and you want to be able to come out of this and be profitable, and not only be profitable, but live the lifestyle that you're accustomed to or want to live, this is where we need to be serious. So right off the top, if you are a suite booth renter or you own your own salon, you're going to have rent. Got to pay your rent. That's not one that you can definitely, manipulate or move around. You've got to pay your electric. You have heat. You have cable, phone, internet. You have your supplies, which right now at Aloxxi.com, you can use JW20 as your code and you can get 20% off your supplies. you have alarm, you have payroll fees. You can go down that entire list and find out what's called your total salon fixed costs. So why is that important? If you're a salon owner, you're going to have two kinds of cost. You're going to have fixed costs, which are all the ones I just named, and then you're going to have what's called a variable cost. And a variable cost is something that fluctuates. So for example, payroll. My salon, all my kids are commission based. So if they do a lot, the payroll's higher. If they do a little, the payroll's lower in my variable payroll. But my fixed payroll is my receptionist and my assistants. They're hourly employees or salaried employees. So those are fixed costs. So I can easily manipulate that to understand what that is every month. The variable is one that you can do with a simple formula. And my formula is simplified in the fact of you need to predict what your sales are going to be. So let's say in June you predict you're going to do 10% sales and you are the owner of a commission-based salon. Typically 65% is what your payroll is going to run. So $6,500 is not going to be yours. That has to go directly back into payroll. Why is that important? Because when we do the salon income needed sheet, I'll give you a second to take a look at that. When we do that sheet, we have to make sure that we add both our fixed costs and our variable costs together. So we truly understand what it is that we need to bring in each month. Now, when you think about it on a month, that's a big number. Easier for us to digest is to minimize that and do it by week. So take that total number of what your bills, or technically in the accountant world, what your overhead is, and divide it by 4. Great, now I understand what that week is. Can we see the sheet one more time? Absolutely. And if you want to reach out to me, by all means, I can 100% walk you through it. So it's the salon income needed. I'm going to just hold it up and bring it for you guys. All right. This is a great exercise. We can walk you through what you need. Because again, we're talking about 80% of salon businesses failing in their first 18 months. No one else is going through, besides restaurants are kind of close to that too as well. I think we're all such creative people and we get involved in our passion and talking to people and our art, and we forget about that business side. And that's my passion. My passion is to bring to all of you, that business awareness, something that we're not trained on in school. And a lot of us learn it from the school of hard knocks. And there's so many out there sharing this information with you. And if I can help any of you ease the stress of worrying about how you're possibly going to run your business, whether it's rental as a suite or as a salon, let me help you and let me walk you through and take a look at your numbers and how we can make this happen. So we've added up our overhead, both our fixed costs and our variable costs. We've put that together and we've come up with what we need each month. And we've now divided it by 4, so that way we have for each week of the month. So example, if we know we need $10,000 a month to pay our bills, then we know that we need to spread that out over $2,500. So we need to make sure we've got $2,500 a week coming in order to remain profitable. And the almighty is to make sure that we're profitable, because at the end of the day, 1, we need the business to be open, and 2, we need to make sure that we're able to pay ourselves. And I can't even tell you, as I travel around the country, how many people have come to me and they have said, I don't remember the last time I paid myself, or I have no idea how much money I make. And that breaks my heart, because I know salon owners and I know booth renters and suite renters, and we work hard. We're on our feet. We're behind that chair. We've got people talking to us. We got people needing us. And to not know how much money you're making, or to struggle to not pay your bills or your own mortgage, breaks my heart. And if I can help you figure that out, that would be rewarding to me. So let's talk about that. We figured out how much our salon needs to make to be profitable. We figured out how to make that dollar and manage that dollar, but let's figure it out for ourselves. So let's take that and we're going to call it the PID, your personal income discovery. In old terms, it would be called your budget, but we're artistic, and saying I want you to create a budget for your home is not exciting. There is nothing exciting about that, nothing artistic. But if I tell you I want you to discover what your personal income means, that sounds like an adventure. So again, I'm going to show you the sheet. You can by all means send me a private message to Jessica the Beauty Series and we can walk through it. But I want you to list out what your necessities are. And your necessities are your home, your electric, your cable, your TV, your phone, any loans that you might have, medical bills. And I want you to add all of those up. And those are true necessities, but I don't want you to make a budget that's based on just necessities, because there's nothing rewarding about working to just pay the bills. It's rewarding when you're able to work, be rewarded by your work, pay your bills, and live a lifestyle. And I'm all about goals. When we do this out in the field and I'm working with salons or I'm doing this in a group setting, we do vision boards or dream boards. And I'm a big believer in that. For years, my dream has been that when my daughter graduates high school, that I was buying a house in a place that has palm trees. See, I live it, totally live it. And that I'll have dolphins swimming in the backyard on my creek. That's my dream. There's a picture of a house, although it's changed over the years on my refrigerator. Everyone knows it's my dream. And this summer it gets to come true as long as we get out of this quarantine thing. Why is that important? Because for years when I changed that thinking from that sushi conversation, that became my dream. And that became what was called my wishes. So on your sheet, it's important that you list your wishes. And that's different for all of you. Some of you may say, I love to go out to eat. I want to go out to eat twice a month. That costs me $100 each time. You need to put on your wishes. I'm going to show you wishes right there. Okay, you need to put in your wishes dining out, $200 a month. You may love to shop and you want to spend $500 a month in shopping, and that's great. Put it in there. If you don't know and you don't write it down, you can't manage to it. And it's so important to put your dreams down when we create this budget, but we know I like to call it the personal income discovery. So here we have our necessities. You have to write down what your monthly bills are. You have to write down what your wishes are. And then I need for you guys to total it up. And when you total it up, you get your personal income discovery. So that's important. I call it the PID. And I'll give you a little example of how I work with that in a salon environment. And even when I'm coaching people out in the field. You figure out your PID. So if you need $10,000 a month, I like it because it's an easy number for me to do math with. And you work 4 days a week, you're going to take that number, you're going to divide 10,000 by 4. 10,000 by 4 is 2,500. If you work, we'll say 5 days a week, and you divide 5 into 2,500, then what is that you need each day? You need 500 each day you need to make. Does that make sense? Again, if you sit there and look at a budget sheet, and you see that you need to come up with this huge number for the month, it makes that very demotivating, and it makes it to the fact where it may look unattainable. And that's not what we're about. We're about working hard and working for our goals. And I'm not going to say right now you're going to be able to get back in the salon week 1. You listen to Jessica's program. You're going to get your PID going and you're going to make all this money and you're going to be profitable. It's going to take time. This is about evolving, writing our goals down, and then breaking it down so that you understand what it is you need to book each day. In managing yourself, it lets you know where you're falling short. So if you're falling short on your Tuesday shift and we're into your Wednesday shift, you know that some people may need an RX treatment. Now I caution you, you must do this with integrity, or someone might need to, get an extra bit of glaze or whatever that is, whatever that looks like. You must do it with integrity and honesty, but it does help you understand how you can begin to build. In the salon, it's a culture. I'll say to my younger staff, hey, how you doing on your PID today? And they know exactly what I mean. I'm about 33 short, but I'm about to, knock it out of the park, or I'm going to make up for it tomorrow. I'm double my PID for tomorrow. And it's a great way to talk about it without saying how are you doing with your money this week? Or are you going to, jack up her price or whatever? And it's not about jacking up a price. It's about upselling. As long as I said, you do it with integrity, that's the most important thing. So if you know, someone's coming in who has repetitive highlights and then color back and then highlights and then color back, that's probably a great candidate for an RX treatment, 100%. And every industry does it. I bartended in college. When someone came in and said that they wanted a margarita, I would go Patron or Cuervo, and I would nod my head, and they would go, oh, Patron, because that made my bill higher, which in turn ended up my tip being higher. Same thing with all of us. Most people that come in, every now and then I pop in and I work the front desk, will say, how should I tip? And I usually say to them, standard would be 18 to 25%. If you feel like they really went above and beyond, more is always welcome. So I think that that's a big thing. Don't be scared. No one is sitting there in the grocery store with you. Your client doesn't tag along with you and say, oh, no, you should get that more premium one. Oh, no, you shouldn't get that. So they're not looking for you to do the same. They're looking to you for your professional advice. And that's so key. So I just want to recap on what we've gone through today a little bit. We talked about why salons fail. We talked about the different increments that we have as a salon, where all of our money goes, because I don't know, we have all these different bills that we're paying and our money goes, and we're usually left with about 5% for profit if we do it right. We talked about the SIN, or the salon income needed. Okay. That's adding up what all of your overhead is for your salon and then dividing it up amongst 4 so you can manage it from week to week. And because if you don't know what you need to pay for the salon, how do you know how to pay, what you need to pay for yourself? And then we worked on the PID, which is your personal income discovery. And that's making sure that when we add up what our bills are, but we also understand what our wishes are, so that when we add it together, we create a budget that doesn't just pay bills. It's a budget or a personal income discovery, your PID, that allows you to live the lifestyle that you want to. And I think that's key. People are like, open up a business, manage a business so that you can be profitable. But what does profitable mean? Does profitable mean just paying your mortgage? Does it mean paying your electric bill a month late? Or does it mean being able to go on vacation with your family or buy the latest Gucci bag that you wanted? That's what it means. So when I tie that back together, why are we doing this now? We're doing this now because a lot of us are scared. A lot of us in this industry are worried about how we're going to be able to do business with capacity, or the amount of people that you have in your location being cut in half, by not being able to double and triple book, by having to secure PPE. So let's touch on PPE and securing PPE. Big question that people have been DMing me or asking in hairstylist forums this week is, do I charge more money to my clients now that I'm securing PPE? Well, I want to remind you of a few things. That's a supply cost, and we already talked about the average salon is a supply cost of 12%. So take a look at what your supply cost is on average, and do you have a little wiggle room with that? How much is this PPE going to cost you? When we talked about sanitation last week, I advised all of you there's 3 avenues that I want you to check with to know what type of PPE and what precautions you need to put in place. You first want to go to the cdc.gov, because the Center for Disease Control is going to let you know what their standards are. OSHA, OSHA.gov. And then you're going to want to go to your state's guidelines, because that's going to dictate to you what PPE you need to secure. So if you're a state where you just need to use gloves and a mask, well, that doesn't seem like a huge surplus that you're going to have to invest in. But if you're a state where you need a face shield, masks provided for clients, gloves, settings that are dividing, or plexiglass dividers, if you need to take that into account, then yes, then I do believe that you need to calculate what that is per client and then add that, to your service menu. People are like, oh, should we put COVID surcharge or sanitation surcharge? I don't 100% agree with writing sanitation surcharge, because it kind of gives the person an idea that you weren't sanitizing before. So I don't necessarily want to do that, but I definitely think something very easily explained in the light of when we do a price increase of, unfortunately, due to circumstances of our increased supply costs, we do need to raise our prices $2.50 or whatever you see that breaks down to per client. The next one I want you to take a look at when we're doing our SIN and our PID is what is your capacity reduction? What is the amount of people that you can have in the salon now versus how many people you could have in your salon before? How can we minimize that, or like I say, damage control? So if I was allowed to have 20 people in the salon before, and now I'm only allowed to have 10 people in the salon at a time, so that's 50% right off the bat that I've now reduced in sales. So there's a couple of ways that we can make that back. One, if your salon, such as mine, is open from 10 to 8, I could extend my hours. The hours could then be 9 to 10. Does that allow me to have more people? Two, I could change to a color like our Andiamo Express. It's 10 to 15 minute permanent color that covers. Why is that important? Well, before I was having to leave booked out 90 minutes for that client, but now I can get that person to come in and out with our Andiamo Express color within 1 hour, allowing me to fit in 2 extra people per day on an 8-hour shift. Well, that's huge. That's going to allow me to now minimize that loss in sales, which is the name of the game right now. So that's what you need to figure out is, one, how much that PPE is going to cost you per person. Two, how can you make up? What areas can you look to move if you're under a capacity reduction? That's big. Another thing that I'm doing is we're opening our salon on Mondays too as well. That's going to give us another day of generating income to make up for our capacity reduction. So there are creative ways that you can play with this. You can, if you're someone who used to run, with 2 assistants in a larger salon atmosphere, it may be that your salon team members, such as like myself, would be shampooing and taking care of sanitizing, where we just have one person that we're sharing amongst ourselves to keep our count down. And these are tough decisions and these are tough conversations. Right off the bat, I have to change hours and scheduling around to accommodate these capacity reductions. So it's really a game of pen and paper. And it's really a game of taking a look of what your options are. You may be renting, in a studio and you don't have the ability to change your hours. So these are conversations that you need to be prepared with facts and numbers to present to that owner to show, how can we be fair about this? How can myself and my 5 other renters in this building work this out where we can still put money in our pockets, and get to that PID. And that's key. That's huge, is that we're working together in a team. So when we think about that, we'd have to also think about, we've got to book about 15 minutes out in between each client for sanitation. So what does that look like? Could we be effective by utilizing an assistant to do that, to not have to book out in that way? So the person leaves, the assistant comes in, sanitizes straight down, next person, comes over to the chair. And these are key ideas that will help keep your salon profitable. And there's a lot of fear out there. I'm going to tell you, I get a little bit emotional. I have 2 salons on my block that have already started selling their furniture, and it breaks my heart. People are like, oh, that's your competition. Good for you. But it's not. It hurts me because those were people's dreams. Those were people's dreams who were going under, whether they were prepared, whether they were taking an early retirement. I don't know. All I know is I see what was once a business closing, and that could happen to any one of us. And if we don't stay true to our numbers and we don't stay true, to paying ourselves, people are going to be coming out of this not in a very favorable way. So with that, I want to reach out to everyone and offer this. If you're concerned, if you're worried, if you don't even know how to figure out or numbers aren't your thing, I want you to reach out to me here at Aloxxi. Stay tuned for our Zoom classes that are coming up. Reach out to me on Jessica the Bee series, and I will help you in any way that I can, or get you to the people who can help you. Right off the bat, you can save 20% on your supplies by ordering from Aloxxi.com. We are shipping now on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can use code JW20. That'll get you that 20% off. I want to give a big smile to my Princess Probs. It's someone who's on my team, Renaissance Strong. Yes, our salon is going to come out of this fine, and every salon will if they stick to their numbers. They play the game, understanding what their financials are and making those adjustments. Is it going to be hard work? Sure. Am I going to be making the same money in June that I did probably last June? Probably not. But I'm okay because I'm going to make those changes that need to be made. I'm going to have those tough conversations, and we're all going to work hard and get this going. And if you need to reach out, again, Jessica, the Beauty Series, send me a message over here on Aloxxi, and I'll be sure to get back to you. This week, we have the beautiful Sam LaBella, and we have Mr. Rocco doing some beautiful pastel colors on Friday. And we're also going to have Rocco doing a cut above, which I'm excited. Rocco is a fabulous hair cutter, and I love watching him cut. And then when he says the terms in Spanish, it's all exciting too. So remember, tune in next week, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be talking about developing and training your staff, whether it's a large staff or your own personal assistant. And thank you for joining again.